This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by The Ben Heck Show. Coming up, did you ever wonder what they were before they were Watchmen? Well, today we check out Before Watchmen.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
It's time for comics. One of the comics that we talked about, I think one of the very first times we talked about comics, was The Watchmen, which is widely regarded as one of the pinnacles of comic book storytelling, Alan Moore's Watchmen. So it was with great fanfare and a lot of fan despair that the announcement of Before Watchmen, DC's line of prequel books to what happened in The Watchmen with the characters of The Watchmen, was announced. A lot of people thought it was heretical, blasphemous. You don't touch a work, you don't tarnish something that's perfect. You don't take those characters and hand them off to other people and expand their stories. But to DC's credit, they have picked a really stellar group of creators to give these books to. And now that we've seen the first line of them, the number ones and a whole bunch of them, we've got almost all the main characters from The Watchmen have their own book. We've got the comedian, Silk Spectre, the Minutemen as a group, which is sort of the old group of superheroes that's referenced in Watchmen. Ozymandias has his own book. Night Owl has his own book. And we've got J. Michael Straczynski. We've got Darwin Cook, who we've talked about a bunch on this show. We've got Jay Lee. We've got Lin Wein. Amazing creators in charge of these books. Guys, I'm going to throw it out.
Yeah.
Alex,
Yeah.
I want to know, I think...
I read the Silk Spectre one, the Minutemen one, and the Night Owl one.
Okay, so what did you think of these? Do you think it justifies the premise? Are you glad that it happened? Which one did you like the most? Or did you not like any of them?
I actually liked, pretty much, I liked them all. It was very interesting because I think one thing that comics have been doing and sort of are sort of a necessity of the genre is that you constantly get these comic books that are sort of nods to characters, or you see characters that come back in different versions, and there's a lot of, you know, Spider-Man is now this way now, and all of his, how does that affect all of the people in his world? You know what I mean? Like the Joe Jameson stuff. Like how is he gonna be? How is, you know,
like Gotham Central is.
Right. How are they gonna?
Batman.
Yeah, it's like, how is it going to look with these new people? And we never got that with Watchmen. With Watchmen was Watchmen, and that was it. You know what I mean? And so it is kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, there are some really interesting side characters, you know what I mean? Especially the Minutemen one, which was very much sort of like a 1 to 3 page backstory on a lot of different characters, and then a sort of, you know, bookend story of that. But it was really great because you get to dive into these characters that feel very Watchmen-esque, but yet are new and refreshed and interesting stories and takes on why are people doing what they're doing. And I had a really good time. I think the two that I really, well, I don't know. I mean, I really liked them all, but I especially like the Night Owl one because you get to see that sort of how that partnership evolved that you see in Watchmen that you know about, but you don't really get much of a backstory on that. So you kind of get to see that young Night Owl too, you know, and I really appreciated that. And I love the sort of, you know, teen boy and girl in a high school in the sort of 50s kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's interesting how different each of the books is tonally from the next. It's not like this was one idea that you see in different forms. It's each one seems to have been approached on its own terms, and we're going to give you the Silk Spectre book, and given what you know about Silk Spectre's history from Watchmen, but we're going to explore a certain side of it, which is this very feminine, very, as you say, sort of teeny bopper romance story in a lot of ways.
But also, it really makes me, because when you said, oh, we're going to do Before Watchmen, these, you know, these characters, I went, oh, okay, cool. So this is like a Before Watchmen is the series, and each issue is going to be another character from Watchmen. And when I saw that they were all #1s, I was like, whoa, what? How is that going to work? And then when I read through them, I was like, oh, I get it. They are these self-contained rows that just happen to be about a character from Watchmen, and that they are treated differently and tonally, and also I'm interested to see how the tone shifts throughout them as well. And there's a little bit of crossover, obviously, because of the characters, and how much crossovers are going to be. You know, is it going to be still the Silk Spectre from the Watchmen, or does it start to fall over into now that's the person from Before Watchmen, where you're getting the backstories? And it's very ambitious, to say the least. But I definitely enjoyed them.
Interesting. Dan, I wonder if you were a big fan of Watchmen. I don't think you were.
No. I
You
didn't
found it.
Well, yeah, I found the love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As you often do.
Third reading of it.
Oh, interesting.
2 readings, no bueno. Third reading.
And a lot of
Bueno.
what's special about Watchmen is the form that it takes, sort of what else is being said other than just the plot. It is much more about how it's being told to you, the relationships, and what it's saying. It's interesting that all these have a backup story, which is that pirate comic, which is definitely from the original book. But they don't seem to be attempting that kind of thing.
I was going to say this, so it's a perfect lead-in in that I do think it's a little bit funky to be rebooting, or whatever you want to call it, a creator's master work, who was sort of doing it out of spite anyway, because you didn't give him the rights to your thing, and he created it, and it became amazing.
Yeah.
And then it'd be one thing if he was dead, you know? It's like you know, because I'm thinking about movies that get but he's still around. There is a bitterness.
Yeah.
And this is not only his masterwork, but it's like the medium's masterwork, and you're just taking it and gonna. Like,
It's kind of like taking Hamlet and doing like Before Hamlet and not writing it in verse, and like it's like kind of
Well, sort of like
I mean, a lot of people
Baz
do that.
Luhrmann's, you know, Shakespeare.
Well, no, but I mean,
Romeo and
it's almost
Juliet,
I mean a lot.
But he's dead is my thing.
There's been
you know
like
what I mean?
Fortinbras and stuff, but yeah, but I mean, but sort of like the verse and the language is as much of what it's about as the.
This is why I'm a little
plot.
bit more okay with it, because it's not like they made another, even though the pirate stuff is in there, so they could compile this to feel like this is a graphic novel. And Watchmen was issues before it was a graphic novel, but
it was
really,
definitely a form.
Yeah, it was a form, right? And this feels more like, oh, they're just treating these characters like they're now a part of the DC universe. They
Exactly.
They're
It's just a
and we're
superhero story.
Yeah, and now they're telling superhero stories. And I feel a little bit more okay with that, because it's not like, and really because I loved the Silk Spectre. I mean, I loved it. I mean, this is one, we have not seen it. I have not read a comic book like this that has an awesome parent-child learning how to become a superhero story.
Invincible?
It's one of the best. Is he teaching him? Is he instructing him?
His dad at the beginning?
It wasn't quite like this though.
Okay.
It was because this was awesome, but really, Doug, I love the feminine perspective on it. That from the Buffy to the Twilight, this is even like, it just really nails the struggle of that character, and I loved. As much as I appreciate Darwin Cook's art, I loved having a different artist on this comic, in Silk Spectre.
Amanda Connor, I believe.
I think she co-wrote it with him as well,
Yeah.
or Amanda Palmer maybe, but that is a character in Twin Peaks or something.
I apologize
But
to everyone.
but
Not knowing that.
Especially Amanda.
I thought it was phenomenal, and I
art
wished
is
it was his own
beautiful.
amazing art. Night Owl, I liked as well, but the thing with Night Owl for me is that. As I was reading, I was like, man, I would love to have read Batman, this take on a Batman story, where it's teaching the taker over to be the kid who wants to be in
Batman
whatever.
Beyond, really.
Right. But
Yeah.
the problem with Night Owl for me is that out of all the characters, and part of the reason why some of Watchmen didn't work for me, especially on first viewings or readings, is that he's the character that really feels like parody to me. He doesn't feel like Batman. It's not like another kind of Batman. Like Shadowhawk is another kind of Batman or whatever. I'm pulling references out of the crazy places, but Night Owl feels like it's the joke version of Batman.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, I should be taking this seriously, especially in this issue #1. But he feels like a parrot. Like, so there's a weird vibe for me with it. But I love that story. But to me, the Silk Spectre one is a very similar story and really knocked it out of the park. I loved it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a mixed feelings about this as well. I really didn't like the fact that the Night Owl book just felt like it could be any superhero story. It was a well-written superhero story, I suppose, but there was nothing special about it, and for me, Watchmen is the most special. It's the thing that is the most special, and I think that was a lot of the fanboy outcry when this was announced, is this is special, and you can't just farm it for publicity. It feels cheap. There are books that don't feel cheap in this line. My favorite actually was the Ozymandias, which I don't know if you guys had a chance to read. The art in that is amazing. Jay Lee's, it's amazing, and it feels really compressed and skips over a lot of stuff that I wish was like a huge story arc, because it's all like narration and it feels really jam-packed, but it's awesome. And I also really like the Minutemen issue. I love Darwin Cook's art, and I love his storytelling. It so perfectly fits this era. You know, he's sort of that 30s thing. But it's interesting, at the beginning of that, it's very much a nod to, it starts very Watchmen-y, doing the graphic matches of things as he's writing things, and then he stops and goes, I can't do this, I can't write it, I'm no Tolstoy. Which is, I think, way of Darwin Cook going, I'm not going to try to be Alan Moore, I can't be Alan Moore, don't expect that. We're doing something different, here we go. Which I thought was a really clever way of communicating that idea.
That was the first one I read, and I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh okay, interesting.
But it was fun. It just all feels so pedestrian in comparison, as it by necessity has to be, to the greatest work of comic book fiction ever made. Like it can't hold up to that. And why would you set yourself up for that comparison? It just feels so. And while some of these stories are interesting, and I'm glad that I read them, and I'm really excited to see the next issue of the Ozymandias book and the next issue of Minutemen. And yeah, I was charmed by Silk Spectre, but if that had been,
Pants.
Yeah,
lady.
Black Canary or Wonder Woman or anybody, it could have been just as interesting in a lot of ways, but. So I have a mixed feeling about it, because it's like, well, this is so unnecessary, and it is exactly the impulse that I had when I heard the announcement of like, oh no, they're not doing that, is the same thing I felt reading it to a large extent, but it's also not bad.
But also maybe you'll just get through that, and once that burn wears off, you'll find something that you like.
I have to say, all the books are gorgeous. The backup stories are fun. It's a really interesting revisit of that world. It's a little blasphemous. It really is a little cheap, but
cool.
Before Watchmen.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be answering one of your Twitter questions right after this, but first we want to thank our sponsor, The Ben Heck Show. Join modding wizard Ben Hecht and his friends. I always want to say Ben Hecht, but it's Ben Heck and his friends as they build and modify a host of amazing community-inspired creations. Be sure to watch new episodes of The Ben Heck Show right here on Revision 3, revision3.com/TBHS, that's The Ben Heck Show. In the latest episode of The Ben Heck Show, Ben builds a retro-style computer using credit card-size Raspberry Pi CPU. What does that mean?
Awesome.
I feel like I just ate a dessert. I want Raspberry Pi CPU.
But it's PI, like 3.14.
Yes, exactly.
Brilliant.
It's Nerd Pi, as it were, which is also Raspberry. Don't forget to go to element14.com/TBHS to find out how you can enter to win the retro-styled computer, as well as the latest builds from Ben's show. Check it out.
Check it out.
We will see you at Comic-Con next week, or tomorrow is when we will be there.
Hey, if you want to send your background in and have it be on our show like this awesome one, you can send your background to us at fans@totallyradshow.com, and we would love to display your artwork.
Yeah, pants on or off.
Join us tomorrow for our review of The Legend of Korra Season 1.
Today's Twitter question sent in with the hashtag TRSQ from Sam Thanotheth, who's at Bearford on Twitter, is, if you guys were a 3-course meal, who would be the appetizer, main dish, and dessert?
I think we would all be dessert.
I was going to say Dan would be the main dish, because he's like the meat and potatoes guys, like Mr. Facts. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Like when you're doing, when it's like, that's all facts, you know what I mean? And then between you and me, appetizer, dessert, who knows?
Well, I think you prefer savory to sweet, don't you?
No, I have a huge sweet tooth.
Well, then you can be dessert. I'll be like a nice aperitif.
You'll be asparagus with
No,
tons-
asparagus, come on!
with
Then you're gonna
tons
be
of
tomato
pepper.
desserts.
Oh no, peppers. Not peppers.
Green
What's
beans
the green
with
beans?
pepper.
Green beans with tons of peppers.
Yeah, green
Which, by
beans
the way,
and
we can't get in
asparagus.
San Diego anymore.
Oh, this restaurant closed.
No, they took that off the menu because he loves it.
Yeah.
That's my curse.
Yeah.
They know that.
Happened again.
They know that.